Welcome everyone to another edition of Play It Through, and on this edition it's Mega Man X3, brought to us by Capcom. The third addition to the Mega Man X series was also the last one to be released in 16-bit, though X3 was also later released for the Sega Saturn and the PlayStation 1 in 32-bit form, adding some anime scenes to the game. Mega Man X3 isn't vastly different from X2, which is probably one of the few criticisms that can be given to the game. However, it is the first game in the Mega Man X series where you actually can play as Zero, as well as you can actually get a new thing, such as the heart tanks and energy tanks. You can now get a different form of the riding armors, the giant-like mechs that you can jump inside and use for a short period of time. So here we go with Mega Man X3 for the Super Nintendo. Also, like X2, there actually is a few different endings, and actually in this game there is 3 total different endings, and I'll be getting the best overall ending in this run of the game. After the intro to the game, we have our startup screen where you can enter a password, of course, go to the options and just change up a few of the control schemes, and then jump right into the game by pressing Game Start. Like the other X games, you have an intro stage at the beginning in order to kind of get you familiarized with the controls and everything. Usually this level is relatively easy, and of course you're going to be starting out with just the basic Mega Man without any of the upgrades you'll gain later on in the game. A lot of the enemies we end up fighting at the very beginning here are ones we've seen in previous X games, so being familiarized with those will definitely help you out here. After being attacked by a former friend, a robot named Mac, we then have Mega Man captured and Zero busts in, and now you actually get to control Zero for the very first time. This will probably be only one of 2 times I'll control Zero in the game, as I'll only beat him one other time near the end of the game in order to actually get the special ending. For the most part, Zero controls just like Mega Man, being able to jump off the walls, the dash ability, and the ability to charge up your blast. However, with Zero's charged up blast, you actually can also use his saber in order to take out enemies once you level and fully charge it. Making it up to the boss door up here will have us go one-on-one with Mac and save Mega Man. Since Zero has a full maxed out health bar right at the beginning, it ends up being rather easy as Mac can only do a tiny bit of damage with his main moves. Once you've defeated Mac, jump up the walls and do a full blast to the thing holding Mega Man in order to save him. You'll then switch back to the controls of Mega Man. Once you have control of Mega Man once again, climb up the wall and then enter the actual boss battle for this stage. This boss fight has us facing off with a giant robot similar to the one we faced at the first level of X2. He has 2 giant spiked arms that he actually will launch at you from the left and right sides of his body. Just doing a quick dash out of the way of him, you'll be able to avoid taking any damage from him, and it only takes a few charged up blasts to the face in order to actually destroy this boss and move on to the main levels of the game. Just like the previous X games, we have 8 Mavericks that take out before we actually make it to the final levels of the game, and you can select these in any order. The order I'll be playing them is pretty much the most optimal route in order to get all the objects without having to backtrack and redo too many levels. We will have to backtrack and do at least 1 level extra, because we won't be able to get the extra items in Tunnel Rhino's level, which is the first Robot Master, or Maverick, we face off with in X3. As you begin Tunnel Rhino's level, do a few quick dashes so you can get underneath these robots dropping boulders from above. Drop down the ladder and then take out the robot blocking your path with a few charged up blasts. Next up, you'll have to hit 2 charge shots on this robot, first destroying his armor, and then once again when he is exposed in order to get rid of him. A few seconds later, he'll then bring the rocks back and you would have to hit him again. Watch out for the dirt that's being dropped from above here, because it'll end up slowing you down, and if it catches you mid-jump over the spike pit, it can cause you to fall down below and lose a life that way. Do a big charged running jump here in order to get up to the upper right corner and grab yourself the first energy tank of the game. Drop down here and enter the chamber to the right. Just like Mega Man X2, there's an extra couple of battles that will sometimes appear in the stages while you're moving through level to level. They haven't actually appeared yet, so we'll have to wait until they start appearing before there'll actually even be a chance of them being in the boss chambers. Watch out for the drill shooting robots and then continue over to the right. watching out for a giant boulder and then taking out another one of those barrier robots. Up here, don't go all the way up to the top, instead jump off to the left as soon as you get an opening, because there is a rock above you that's about to fall down. Drop down this large pit hugging the right wall so that you can avoid the rock but also not fall down into the pit all the way at the bottom. Entering this chamber will be the mid-boss for this stage. Do a full charged up blast and then jump up into the air on the left wall. Keep repeating this over and over again, you should be able to dodge the robot's thrill. While he ends up being an easy battle, it will take quite a few charged up shots to actually destroy him. Thankfully though, since he's pretty easy, you should be able to conserve most of your health during the fight. Once he's done though, you can go in the opening over to the right. Watch out for the robots as you start climbing up the ladders, and when you reach the top, it's time for the first actual Maverick fight of the game. I like to take a full charged up shot into the battle with me, immediately fire it, and then jump up to the left wall. Then, jump over Tunnel Rhino when he charges forward, and jump over to the other wall. Keep doing this back and forth, just landing right next to him, that'll cause him to start doing the charge. Every once in a while he'll charge forward towards you, but then go back towards the previous wall. So don't jump off the wall until you know for sure he's coming all the way over to it. After about midway through the battle, he will start doing a more charged up thing where you won't be able to hurt him with his shield. But just keep repeating jumping back and forth between the left and right walls and jumping over them, and you'll be able to drain all of Tunnel Rhino's health rather quickly, destroy him, and move on to the next Maverick. After gaining the ability from Tunnel Rhino, we move on to Blizzard Buffalo. Blizzard Buffalo obviously being the ice stage, you'll have a little bit of slipping and sliding while moving along his platforms. Start off by dashing underneath a few robots and climb up here. When you get to these big blocks of ice, switch over to the drill that we got in the previous level. Then use each individual drill to take out each individual cube, working your way slowly down so that we can get an item below. Once we finally drill through it all, we can get the heart upgrade and then move right back up the walls. You can use the slope here to slide rather quickly, not taking too much damage from the robots above you, and you can just slide right underneath of them. Grab a little bit of extra health here on the left side while taking out the robots before dropping down. This is one of those rooms where you would fight one of those 2 extra robots that you can fight throughout the game. However, they haven't appeared yet. They'll actually be appearing after we complete this stage. In this area, it will grow dark, and be careful of the robots that form big ice blocks above you and then try to drop down on you. Up here, there is an E-tank to the top left, but we can't grab it quite yet. Instead, work your way over to the right. Watch out for the enemies and do a big running dash jump over to the right and just barely be able to get on the platform in order to find yourself the leg upgrades for Mega Man X3. The leg upgrades in X3 actually allow you to do a dash straight up into the air, so it's kind of like a little extra jump you can use, and we'll be using it to get a few items. For the first time, we'll be using it right over where that energy tank was, so we can jump up, grab onto the platform, and grab ourselves an E-tank. Once you have the E-tank in place, work your way back over to the right, this time heading down instead of doing that running dash jump. Once you enter here though, it's time to battle Blizzard Buffalo. Interestingly enough, Blizzard Buffalo's fight is almost the exact same as the one we just dealt with. He does a lot of charges between the left and right walls, however his area is a lot bigger, so you'll have to do a bunch of dashes to quickly get over to the opposite side of him. If you're quick about it, you can do a full charged up blast and do a quick turn and hit him while he's doing his dash, since he moves rather slowly when doing this dash. Every once in a while, instead of dashing though, he will unleash a giant wave of energy. Just be sure to cling onto the upper wall so that you can dodge it. His other move is he'll throw a few little icicles that will form shards wherever they land. These are a little bit annoying, and I end up finding them the only things that end up hitting me during this fight with Blizzard Buffalo. After taking out Blizzard Buffalo, we get his ability, and then we see a short cutscene with Dr. Doppler. After the cutscene with Dr. Doppler, we now head into Neon Tiger's level. Neon Tiger's level is a pretty cool forest setting. We're going to start off by immediately switching over to Blizzard Buffalo's move. This we'll actually be using in order to work our way up here. Jump up and use the mosquito enemies in order to get to these top platforms. Then you can use a couple of them at the top here in order to get the E-tank in the upper right corner. After getting that, we're now going to dash back over to the left side. This way we can actually get up to the ladder that we actually need to get to. I like using Blizzard Buffalo's move in order to take out these barrier creatures rather easily. When you get over to the right side, pull out the drill ability and blow open this wall. Once in here, do a quick dash so you can avoid falling down into the pit below, and grab yourself a new upgrade. Now with one of the most important upgrades, the Mega Buster upgrade, now head back over to the left, jumping over the pit. Drop down this ladder in order to enter the mini-boss for this stage. Use your new charged up full Mega Buster in order to take out the giant centipede-like monster that drills its way inside the walls. Try to do your best to stay away from it as it keeps drilling in and out of the walls in different patterns. It also will drop these little things that'll start bouncing around the room, but you can take them out if you're able to do a blast to them. However, after a little bit of time, they will blow up on their own. Thankfully, it's pretty easy to dodge the guy, and once you've unleashed enough of the Mega Buster hits, you will end up defeating it and you can move on in the stage. During the segment, watch out for the robot-like penguins that are going to use the giant mace balls to try to hit you. If you do a running dash jump right before them, you can actually jump right over their heads. Here's another one of those mini-boss chambers. This is where we would fight those guys Bit and Byte that we just were introduced to before this level. Be careful of these guys, as you can't hit them unless their face is actually above the ground. Use the dragonfly robot here in order to dash up to the upper right wall so you can grab yourself another heart container. Thankfully, Neon Tiger's battle is actually different from the previous two fights, as he's not going to be just dashing back and forth between the left and right walls. If you can, start off with a full charged up Mega Buster shot, and then dash to the opposite side of the room once he dashes to the upper left wall. Do your best to then avoid his firing shot that shoots off in a different machine gun-like pattern. Thankfully, it moves a little bit slowly, so you'll be able to dodge it for the most part. Sometimes he'll do this 2, 3, or 4 times on the same wall spot, and this will give you a great opportunity to keep unleashing Mega Buster hits. The hardest thing about fighting with Neon Tiger is being able to dodge him when he dashes up into the upper right walls or just runs across the ground itself. Right here, I get him in a good spot where he's in the center of the room, and this allows me to just keep jumping over him, dodging the machine gun-like fire, and keep unleashing hits on him. When he gets below half of his health, he'll do a charge-up move where he'll turn orange and then try to do a running dash towards you. Just be sure to jump right over his head when he does this so you don't end up getting hit when he ends up getting to you. Unfortunately though, you aren't able to actually hit him during this, so you'll have to wait for him to stop before you're actually able to unleash some damage to him. Next up, we're going to be heading to Gravity Beetle's level. Gravity Beetle's level takes place at an Air Force base, and I think it's one of the cooler levels in the game. Inside is more of like a factory setting that we have seen before, but still I think it's overall a pretty unique stage. Here, try to use your new Mega Buster upgrade in order to take out the robots from below before trying to get up to their platforms. The missiles they launch out come out rather quickly and can be a pain to dodge. I did miss an item there, so we'll have to come back to the stage later on in order to grab that item. I ended up realizing that after completing the run. Here we have our battle against Bit. Start off by unleashing a charged shot on him if you can, and dodge the ring that moves up and down the wall and then bounces along the bottom. For the most part, Bit's main move is when he sees you eye level, he does a big charging move towards you with his sword. Do your best to either be below on the ground so that you can jump over him, or high up on the wall so that when he comes at you, you can get right below him. His other move that's pretty annoying is the shot that ends up homing in on you, chasing you around the room while dodging this. If you're already in a nice motion of trying to dodge the sword and all, you may be able to cause the homing thing to just go around in circles and be able to avoid taking damage from it. It'll take a good amount of Mega Buster hits in order to take him out, and as he gets lower on health, he'll start doing 2 homing shots and 2 of the rings. Once we take care of him though, we exit out of the room and continue on in Gravity Beetle's level. Climb up here, and then you'll have to use the wall on the left side here, and then do one of your Mega Buster leg upgrade jumps in order to get to the platform above you and grab yourself one of the riding armor upgrades. When you make it over here, be sure to grab the extra bit of health on the right side before going down the ladder. Over here, you'll make it to an elevator, but with the Mega Buster upgrades that we have, as well as the leg upgrades, we can just work our way up taking out the enemies as we go, and not really have to wait for the elevator unless you really want to. Up here is rather strange, as you'll enter one of those mini-boss doors, but it actually doesn't take you to a mini-boss fight. I guess it just kind of marks a midway point of the stage. During the next segment, you'll have to move quickly along the platforms as they'll break apart slowly, falling down into a pit below. Move yourself along the wall the best you can using your charged up blast to take out the crab-like enemy, and there's normal enemies just sitting on the platform trying to launch their arcing shots at you. When you make it to the top here though, you make it into Gravity Beetle's chamber. Go into Gravity Beetle's battle with a full charged up X-Buster shot. Unleash it as soon as the battle begins because he moves really slowly at first. He does these little short jumps that end up shaking the ground, but they don't affect you when they do so. He then pulls back and throws out a gravity ball that bounces around the room. Just pay attention to the angles it's about to bounce and you should be able to dodge it. After a while though, he will charge up and then try to fly at you, in which case you'll just have to jump over him and do a dash to the opposite side of the room. When you get about midway through the battle, he'll change up his move throwing out 2 of the gravity balls, as well as throwing up a big gravity thing up into the top part of the level. Just be very careful not to jump up too high so you end up getting pulled into it yourself. Just keep moving back and forth, jumping over him when he does a charge towards you, and then as soon as he stops flashing, that's a good opportunity to unleash a shot at him. After completing Gravity Beetle getting his move, we now move on to one of my favorite songs of the game, and that's in Toxic Seahorse's level. Toxic Seahorse's level is a sewer stage, so there is water running through it, so you'll have to be careful as some of the flow of the water will try to push you and pull you. Work your way up the walls, watching out for the flow, as well as taking out those robots with the arcing shots. We'll be seeing these guys pretty much in almost every level throughout the game. Up here, instead of going right, jump up the left wall, working your way up the waterfall so you can grab yourself one of those extra heart pieces on the top right corner. Then, drop back down, take out the robot, and continue along the main path to the mini-boss room. This is where we would fight Bit or Byte in this level, but we don't run into either one of them here, and since we've already taken out Bit, we only have to worry about Byte now. Drop down this big opening, you'll drop down into the water below. Watch out for the turtle robots and get out Blizzard Buffalo's move. Do a full charged up shot with it and you'll actually form a giant ice block you can actually ride on to the surface. Do this at this spot so you can actually jump up to this platform and grab yourself another one of those riding armor upgrades. Once down, back in the water, use Blizzard Buffalo's move to take out the turtles individually as you try to make your way along the bottom, being careful not to jump too high so you hit the spikes above. Over here you'll enter another one of those mini-boss chambers, and this time we actually have to fight the mini-boss. This time this octopus-like creature with two waving tentacles and lots of missiles, kinda reminding me a little bit of Launch Octopus. Do full charged up shots by doing little short jumps to hit its main core, and move back and forth to watch out for the missiles. It'll also throw out these mines, but they only go a little bit around the sides of it and won't follow you around the room like the missiles do. Once he's taken care of, you'll enter the next room and the water will start to drain there. Then just start working your way up the ladders. You'll make it out into a big opening with an open dam-like area with a nice background. Jump over the missile-firing robots, and when you get down here, do a charged run so that you actually can make it over the gap of the spikes and make it to the platform. Drop down the ladder and enter the boss chamber for Toxic Seahorse. Always go with the full charged up X-Buster, but just wait a second until the battle begins, as Toxic Seahorse will then jump over to your side. Dash to the opposite side and unleash the shot there. He'll shoot out this toxic bubble that will slowly bounce along the room and drop little bits of acid every time it hits the wall. Thankfully, as long as you're not right next to the wall where it's bouncing, you probably won't get hit by it. However, when it reaches the center of the ceiling, it'll end up hitting that and break up into 4 little things that can do some damage if you end up getting hit. Do your best to keep running back and forth to the left and right side of the walls, dodging Toxic Seahorse as he jumps up and down. Eventually he'll shoot out another bouncing ball acid that will bounce along the ground, and it'll be a little bit tough to dodge. He'll also start shooting 2 of these when he gets below half health, and then he'll end up charging and going underground. When he does this, just bounce on the walls and then just wait for him to reappear before dropping down and unleashing some shots into him. Next up, we move on to Blast Hornet. Start off Blast Hornet's level by dashing over a few robots before making it to an elevator. This one is a little bit trickier to just work your way up because there's a little bit more robots and there's a little bit wider platforms for them to be on. But if you're a little bit talented, you actually can work it up without waiting for the elevator itself. Continue forward and you'll find yourself on a whole bunch of conveyor belts. Just be careful that you don't end up getting pulled by the conveyor belt into the wall of spikes on the right side. Inside here, it's time for a mini-boss. This little bug will end up rolling down and then end up causing this geometric form to appear. Start off by unleashing a full charged up blast as it'll start rolling back and forth and doing little jumps against the wall. I find myself for the most part staying against the left wall for the first part of the battle, just shooting it every time it's on the ground. Eventually it'll stay in the corner spinning really fast and then start moving itself around the wall. When it does this, just jump over and continue attacking. The hardest form to dodge is the one where it turns on its side like a star and starts jumping and bouncing as it spins. Just try to avoid it and only get hit once or twice by it while unleashing your full charged up shot. Eventually though, it will go down and you can continue on in the level. Drop down here and you'll see a cracked wall. Use the drill in order to bust through the wall and then shoot a couple of times at the box over this hole so you can get down here. Destroy the robot holding the riding armor and then jump inside. Use the elevator in order to make your way back up to the surface. Once back up here, charge forward, breaking down some more boxes and working your way through the area. When you make it over to the right, jump out of the riding armor and then climb up the wall so you can get a piece of the heart container on the top right corner. Then drop back down and continue on the level. Here we'll enter another mini-boss chamber, and this time we actually get to fight Byte. Start off with a full charged up blast, and he'll end up firing this mine that'll hit the left wall. Just be careful not to run into it when it's getting ready to explode. He'll then consistently keep charging left and right, and when he hits the mine it will end up exploding if he runs into it. It's really easy to just climb up the wall and then do a dash right over his head, and then do another full charged up shot to him. And what ends up being one of the easiest boss battles in the game, we end up taking out Byte. Move to the next area, watching out for the conveyor belts and once again some spikes along the walls. Jump over a few more robots, use a full charged up blast in order to take out all these boxes, and just be careful of a few more boxes that will fall down and end up hitting you if you're not too fast. After getting past a few of them, you'll end up getting into the boss chamber of Blast Hornet. Blast Hornet ends up flying at the beginning of the level, so you'll have to jump up the left wall in order to fully unleash a charged up shot at him. He'll try to attack you with the stinger, just do your best to dodge out of the way of that, and then he'll unleash a whole bunch of Hornets in order to hit the walls. Just do your best to get out of the way of these, and you actually can destroy them as they're coming towards you with any of your charged up shots. Just move back and forth between the left and right sides of the wall wherever he's not, so that you'll have a good opportunity to be able to dodge him when he tries to attack you with that stinger. When you make it farther into the battle, he'll end up unleashing this pink thing that will end up allowing the Hornets to target you a lot easier. He'll also cause the Hornets to spin around him as a shield. Just keep moving and dodging the best you can, unleashing the charged up shots when you get the opportunity, and you should be able to take out the last remaining bit of his health. We now have only 2 Mavericks left to face off with, and we'll start off with Volt Catfish. Watch out for the light sensors that are going to be along the ceiling, and just dodge out of the way if you end up getting seen by one, as they'll fire a blast at you. Work your way down this elevator and enter the chamber over to the far left. This will teleport you to another level. Here, do your best to be careful while making your way through it, as we're actually going to have one of the secret boss fights of the game. There's actually a couple of those chambers, but I find using the one in Volt Catfish the easiest, and at this point, since we have a lot of upgrades, it's about time to take on this secret boss. When you make it up this ladder, you'll enter the boss chamber for this boss. Not surprisingly, if you saw the scene earlier, it's actually a rematch against Vile from the first Mega Man X game. He'll start off by charging at you, trying to hit you with his drill hands and his riding armor. Just jump over to the walls and use them to dash over him when he gets too close to you so you can avoid getting crushed. Thankfully, this first form against Vile ends up being rather easy as long as you can quickly dodge with your dashes. Once you destroy the riding armor though, he gets another full thing of health and you'll have to fight Vile himself. He'll jump over you, unleashing a bomb that'll cause a thing of fire to go across the ground. Just be careful and jump over it so you don't end up getting burned. He'll then fly up into the air and unleash some machine gun-like fire. What I like to do is stay either really close to him or far away from him so I can either use the wall or dash underneath of it to avoid that machine gun fire. While it will take you a decent amount of time to drain all his health with the X-Buster, it can end up being easy as long as you can get the basic pattern down. However, there is a secret to the battle. In order to get something later on, you'll have to destroy him with Neon Tiger's move. So be sure the last hit you unleash on him is with that maneuver. Once you defeat him though, you'll now have only 50 seconds to escape the destroying lab. So move quickly, grabbing health if you need it after the Vile battle, and use some of your abilities that you've gained in order to take out the robots a little bit quickly as you try to make your way through this area. You'll have to jump your way up this elevator shaft, watching out for the fallen debris as it tries to hit you. Thankfully though, it doesn't do too much damage, so even if you get hit once or twice. The bad thing is though, it ends up slowing you down. Do quick dashes over here so you don't end up falling down into the pit below. Work your way up this wall and move yourself to the teleporter to complete the area. You'll now be back in Volt Catfish's stage. Jump over the elevator we used earlier, and now jump up this elevator shaft to work your way up to the top of it. There will be a few robots here trying to shoot some missiles, so just be careful. Here we won't be able to use the walls to climb because they're covered with spikes, so you'll just have to slowly ride up the elevator. Skip the first opening and just keep continuing upwards. When you get up here, you'll have to use a dash to get across to the opposite wall and then slowly slide down it so you can grab yourself the upgrade to your health. You can once again use the elevator and just climb up, jump all the way to the very top, and then when you get here, use Gravity Beetle's weapon that we got, do a full charged up shot with it. This will allow you to pull this thing upwards so you can get to the top and get to the upgrade chamber. With all the health upgrades we've gained, as well as now the new armor upgrade, which really helps us out, we are pretty much really powerful and shouldn't have too much trouble taking out normal bosses. Be careful and work your way over to the right side here, watching out for the electrical spark as it moves back and forth. Get on this platform, you'll be able to summon one of the riding armors that we've gained the ability by finding those upgrades. Choose this one so that you end up having the drills on your hands, and then drop down here. You'll break through the floor and make it to an area below. Down here you'll be able to grab yourself another one of the energy tanks, as well as a bunch of little item things as well. You can then get out of the armor and work your way back up to the wall, and jump over to the left where that floor broke. Be very careful here and use your legs to your advantage so you can get up the walls without hitting the electrical sparks. Dodge a few more enemies as well as a few more sparks before getting down here to enter the boss chamber for Volt Catfish. With Volt Catfish, use your charged up shot at the beginning of the fight after he does his first jump. When Volt Catfish jumps, he also then bounces along the ground when he first lands. Try to do your best to jump over this and avoid getting hit by it. He'll then shoot out electrical sparks from his mouth. The first one's really easy to dodge, however his second other attack is actually a little bit tough. He'll shoot out these electrical mines to the left or right walls, and then shoot out a second set that you'll have to dodge before pulling them in and charging up a blast to the ceiling. When he's about halfway gone though, he'll stand in the middle of the floor and do a big charged up shot. You won't be able to hurt him during this, and all these little sparks will come flying out of him, and they're really tough to dodge. You'll then have to jump over him when he charges towards the wall, and you'll have a brief opportunity to hit him before he ends up going right back into the animation again. With Volt Catfish taken care of, we have only one Maverick left to face off with. So here we go with Crush Crawfish. At the beginning of the stage, drop down here. You'll see this area where you'll be able to summon one of those riding armors. Instead though, run over to the right side here and use one of the triad things that we got from Catfish. Use a full charged up version of it and you'll punch the ground. This will break open the ground so that you can actually drop down here and grab the last of the riding armor upgrades. Then, run back and use that riding armor upgrade we just picked up. This ends up being one of the more powerful of the riding armors, as you can see it has big guns for its arms. Run over here and you'll end up seeing one of those penguin robots fall down and break the ground. After a few seconds you'll be able to drop down as well. Hug the right wall so that you'll be able to blow it up and grab yourself another one of the upgrades to your health before dropping down to the ground below. Then if you want to, continue using the mech for a little bit before jumping out of it and continuing on in the stage. Here you will enter one of those boss mini chambers, but this is where you will fight Bitter Byte, so we just continue on. Since I still have Volt Catfish's move equipped, I'll use this in order to bust my way through a lot of the robots during this little area. It ends up being a really effective move to protect yourself and destroy little enemies along the path. Here, use it a couple times so it ends up breaking the floor so you can drop down below to these conveyor belts. Drop down the middle area of it and work your way over to the right. Here you'll enter another one of those mini-boss areas. Inside here though, use the Volt Catfish move in order to bust open this thing over to the right. After it's destroyed, work your way up to the ceiling and go through the opening that's now created. After making it up to the top though, we end up battling with Crush Crawfish. As the battle begins, unleash his shot because he'll end up charging right towards you. When he gets close to you, he'll end up firing out these little bands that'll try to hit your arms. As well as he also will then try to run towards you and then launch out his claw that moves rather slowly, so you should be able to dodge it. The little bands that he ends up unleashing will end up going up and down the walls and end up hitting you that way as well. When he ends up getting low on health, he'll end up charging towards you and then actually try to grab you. If he's able to do so, he'll do a little bit of damage, so just try to mash the button and get out of it quickly. After the cutscene, we now see that we have Dr. Doppler's levels opened up to us, but we still have to grab a couple of things real quick. So first, head back to Gravity Beetle's level so I can grab the item I forgot earlier on. Thankfully though, it's right near the beginning of the stage, so I don't have to play too far into the level. When you work your way up here, go over to the left wall. Try to do your best to watch out for the enemies and grab yourself the heart piece on the left side. Once you do so, exit out of the stage. Now, head back to the first level we did in the game, Tunnel Rhino stage. Get yourself back to this area and then do a full charged up shot with Volt Catfish's move to bust open this thing, drop the rock so that you can grab another bit of heart piece. You'll have to travel through a large portion of the stage again, but use Volt Catfish's move here in order to get up and grab yourself the last piece of the X armor that we need. We end up getting the helmet, which actually ends up allowing you to see a mini-map where you'll be able to see secrets and stages. However, since we've gotten everything already, it's not very useful to us right now. Now that we have all the items we need in the game, now head to Dr. Doppler's level. At the beginning of the level, watch out for some of the missile-shooting robots. We've been dealing with them the whole game, so you should have no issue being able to just easily avoid them or take them out with your shots. When you get up here though, be very careful of your jumps because of the ceiling coming down with the spikes on it. You'll have to be very fast here while moving yourself up as the walls will come in to try to crush you. If you end up getting caught, you will end up losing a life there. When you make it here, you'll end up running into this big mech robot guy who'll come towards you. After a few seconds though, Zero will show up. After the cutscene's over, start off by immediately full blasting at this robot, and just keep doing so over and over again. You should be able to take it out rather quickly, but you have to do it fast though anyway because the ceiling will slowly lower with spikes. Continue on the level, watch out for the penguin robot here and start working your way up the walls, also once again avoiding robots. Then drop down to this big open area heading over to the right. When you make it here, drop down and hug the left wall to find this secret chamber in order to get yourself the gold chip, the ultimate thing in the game. This gives you some really cool power, and it makes you pretty much the ultimate form of Mega Man X in the game. Use CRAUFISH's move in order to take out some robots along the way before entering the boss chamber for Doppler level 1. We end up having a rematch against Bit and Byte, who form together to form one robot. As the battle begins, hug the left wall and watch out for the two arms that he immediately fires at you. If you're quick enough, you should be able to jump off the wall when he fires the first one and then get right up close to him so the second one just goes over your head. Repeat this over and over again, and every jump you do, you should be able to unleash a hit or so into the enemy. He'll pull out a sword sometimes and try to swipe at you. Watch the sword swipe as well as the two blades that shoot off of it when he does it. It'll take some time, but since he actually doesn't really move other than up and down, it ends up being a pretty simple fight. Once you get back to the map selection screen, go right back in and you'll go to Doppler level 2. Watch out for the giant mech at the beginning of the level, and you'll have to fight a few of these as you make your way through the stage. They fire a little laser shot that just goes straight, but since it moves rather quickly, it can be a little bit hard to dodge. These guys take up a lot of hits to take out as well, even with a full charged up X-Buster. So it's best to avoid them if possible by just going overhead, but sometimes you may have to fight it. Over here you'll have a riding armor platform, and I'll select the F one this time, the water one. This is the only time really in the game where it comes in real handy. It moves really slowly, but thankfully after a few platforms you drop into the water where it can really showcase what it can do. While you can use this if you want, and its homing missiles end up working quite well, I find actually just jumping out of it and just using regular X with his charged up run in order to get through the water a little bit easier, but that's completely up to you. Once you jump up here though, enter this boss room, but before you do so, switch to Zero. This is the only way in order to get the best weapon in the game, and that's Zero's saber. I mentioned earlier that we weren't going to play as Zero much in the game because there really isn't too much to showcase. Here you'll have to battle this weird bug helicopter type thing. Start off by firing at it, and after you hit it, it'll turn red. He'll change colors multiple times back and forth as he flies overhead and tries to latch onto you to do a little bit of damage. He doesn't have a health meter, but once you're able to take him out as Zero, he'll grab onto Zero and explode, doing a lot of damage to you. You'll then have a cutscene, and afterwards, you'll have the best weapon in the game. In order to use the saber, you'll have to do fully charged up X-Buster, and you'll see you'll change multiple colors, eventually becoming green. When you make it over here, you'll find a giant wall of spikes with a robot at the top right. What you'll have to do is get close to it, it'll come down, and when you destroy it, it'll break apart, revealing a platform. You'll then have to very slowly ride up the spikes with this platform, destroying another one on the opposite side, and jumping back and forth between multiple ones as you very slowly make your way up this wall. After what seems like a never-ending trek up those spike walls, you'll eventually make it to the boss chamber for Doppler level 2. Walk into the stage and you'll drop down into the water below. Start off by dashing to the right wall, jumping up and unleashing a full charged up shot if possible. I'll be careful not to defeat the enemy too quickly here as you move back and forth between the left and right walls in order to unleash the shots when you climb up it. He'll end up using the tentacles he has attached to him in order to do some big attacks to you, as well as launch out some missiles. However, with the big opening that you have during the fight, you should be able to do a good job of dodging most of these missiles. In the next level of Doppler stage, you'll have to do a rematch against all the Mavericks. This time around, I'll be showing you their weaknesses by using them against them, and it ends up being easier fights for the most part by using their weaknesses. First, we'll start off with the upper left one, and that'll be a rematch against Blast Hornet. All we have to do is pull out Gravity Beetle's move and unleash it on him, and you'll end up being able to do a lot of damage to him quickly. You can do either the full charged up one, or you can end up just using the regular one to hurt him. When you use the full charged up one, it'll end up pulling him down towards the ground to hit him, as well as get rid of all the little Hornets that are flying around the room. Just do your best to dodge him like usual, and keep doing this Gravity Beetle move in order to get rid of him pretty quickly. For our rematch against Volt Catfish, you'll be using the drill in order to hit him. Unleash the drill and you'll hit him in midair, immediately dropping him down to the ground. You'll still have to dodge him when he tries to jump back and forth, bouncing a little bit, but unleashing these drills does a lot of damage to him. In the next chamber we go to, we have a rematch against Gravity Beetle. Pull out Neon Tiger's ray gun and use that in order to hit Gravity Beetle before he's able to get off the ground, really. Just keep doing this over and over again, you'll see just how much damage you're able to do with it. You can also use the full charged up one in order to unleash this ball that ends up shooting machine gun fire in multiple directions. Against Blizzard Buffalo, we'll be using Blast Hornet's move. As soon as the fight starts, you can just unleash it and keep doing so over and over again to hit him. Just keep running over his head every time he tries to charge at you. Next up, we have a rematch against Toxic Seahorse, and his weakness ends up being the frost thing that we got from Blizzard Buffalo. Just keep hitting him every time he jumps and you'll knock him right back to the ground, and if you get him caught in the rhythm, you'll be able to damage him really fast and get rid of him quickly. For Crush Crawfish, get out Volt Catfish's move in order to hit him. Just keep doing it over and over again and dodging the bands as he fires them out, and it won't take too long to drain the health. For the rematch against Tunnel Rhino, get out the Toxic Seahorse Acid move and you'll be able to do a lot of damage to him. Just like before, jump over him to dodge him when he runs at you, and just jump over the few drills that he fires out as well. For Neon Tiger, get out Crush Crawfish's move in order to do a lot of damage to him. This move will also be able to knock him right off the walls before he's able to fire out his machine gun fire. Once you've taken care of all the rematches, enter into the next boss room in order to fight the real boss of the level. You will have to maneuver yourself around a few of the little laser things attached to the ceiling though before you make it to his chamber. Now we have our matchup against Dr. Doppler. Start off with a full charged up shot if you want to, and then dodge the few fireballs he ends up firing at you. Eventually he'll charge up, getting a shield around him that you won't be able to hurt him, and then he'll charge forward with a punch in order to run across the screen. Just be careful and jump over it in order to avoid him. The worst and hardest thing about this fight is he ends up using this armor around him in order to heal himself. So honestly, the best way is having your full charged up shots, and after you've had enough of trying to actually damage him with it, just use the sword that we got from Zero and you'll do a lot of damage and kill him with only 2 or 3 of the hits of it. After defeating Doppler, we find out what his real goal overall was, and not surprisingly, our old friend and boss from the previous X games is going to make an appearance, that being Sigma. So head to the next level and we have our rematch against Sigma. You'll have to dodge out some of the robots and then climb up these ladders in order to continue up. You'll have a very long shaft to climb up, but once you reach the top, it's time for the boss fight. For our first fight against Sigma, he'll have a shield that he'll block with. Use a charged up shot in order to hit him when he starts firing out the fireballs. These fireballs can be a little bit tricky to dodge, and when they hit the wall they'll end up flying right up it, so you can't just hug the wall. However, when he jumps overhead, you can get right underneath of him and when he fires out the shots in a diagonal direction, you should be able to dodge these ones. Do your best and try to conserve your health as much as possible, because we have another fight coming up after this. At any point though, when you want the battle to end quickly, pull out the sword and use that. After a while, he'll also fire out his shield to try to hit you with as well. However, it moves kind of in a figure 8-like pattern and ends up being pretty easy to dodge. Now it's time for the actual final boss battle of the game, and this Sigma isn't playing around in its huge form. He moves rather slowly, as there'll be mines that'll fly around the room bouncing around, as well as when he lands he'll end up firing missiles at you to try to hit you. However, if he lands and starts firing at his giant beam, just be sure to get completely out of the way of it, because it will damage you quite a lot. Just keep moving underneath of him back and forth, dodging out the laser as well as the mines that he shoots out, and do little bits of damage whenever you have the opportunity to. If you're able to charge it up, you will be able to hit him with the sword as long as you hit him just in his tiny head that's at the top of the mech. Once he's been defeated though, you're not quite done, as you'll have to escape the area. Quickly start running up the wall, and eventually he'll end up appearing in his kind of cybernetic form in the background that we dealt with in Mega Man X2. He'll cause lava to start coming out of the ground, and you'll have to quickly run yourself up the walls while also jumping away from it, using the extra leg upgrades that we got in order to make yourself be able to get up this tighter little passageways. You also can run into him for damage and get hit by the fire below, so it can be a little bit troublesome. When you reach the top though, you can sit back and enjoy the ending to Mega Man X3. And with the ending, we see that Sigma once again looks like he has been defeated, but we'll have to wait and see if that's actually true or not. After the ending though, we again get the Mega Man X3 cast showing you all the enemies of the game. While Mega Man X3 may not have added a ton new to the gameplay, it's still a very fun entry, and being a huge fan of the Mega Man series and the X series in general, I really don't find it that bad that it didn't really improve the game too much. And to be honest, the only thing I find lacking in this version of Mega Man X is the music ends up being not as stellar as I think the first X game was, and even the second one. However, of course, that's just a matter of opinion, so that's really not saying anything bad towards the game itself. After seeing the last few bosses, including Sigma and Kaiser Sigma, we then have them thanking us, and then it'll go to our Presented by Capcom screen. And with that, that's going to wrap up this edition of Play It Through. I'd like to thank you for watching, and of course, I hope you enjoyed.